How Bruce Lee secretly entered the Soviet Union and changed a generation. Bruce Lee is a figure who never actually visited the Soviet Union, yet he left an indelible mark on the hearts of Soviet people. His films, filled with dynamic fight scenes, philosophical ideas, and a unique fighting style, became a phenomenon that bypassed state barriers and censorship. This story is about how Bruce Lee became a symbol of an entire generation and why his name became associated with struggle, freedom, and dreams. A secret hero of the screen. In the 1970s, when the Soviet Union lived under strict ideological control, cinema was one of the most tightly regulated spheres. Western films passed through a heavy censorship filter to prevent the influence of foreign ideology. Yet Bruce Lee managed to break through the Iron Curtain. Unofficial copies of his films on worn-out reels were passed from hand to hand like precious artifacts. People gathered in basements, attics, and ordinary apartments to secretly watch fight scenes from movies such as Enter the Dragon and Fist of Fury. For young people, it was more than just entertainment. It was a breath of freedom. Bruce Lee became a symbol that even a small individual could fight the system and win. The art that inspired Soviet boys, inspired by Bruce Lee's heroism, tried to imitate his movements. Streets and courtyards became arenas where techniques seen on screen were practiced. Of course, there were no official kung fu schools in the USSR, but teenagers created their own clubs where they trained with enthusiasm. It was during this time that homemade nunchaku appeared, crafted from sticks and bicycle chains. Older boys taught the younger ones, passing on what they had learned from watching film scenes. Every kid understood that despite restrictions, a person could still be strong if they believed in themselves. The struggle for the right to dream. In the Soviet Union, Bruce Lee was more than an actor. He became an ideological inspiration for those who felt confined by the system. His characters promoted a philosophy of inner strength and freedom that stood against any limitation. For many young people, he became an example of how to break beyond the ordinary. If you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made of. This phrase from Lee became a kind of credo for thousands of young people. A legacy that lives on. Several decades have passed, but Bruce Lee's name still commands respect among those who were young in the 1970s and 1980s. His films, despite arriving in the USSR through unofficial channels, left a deep mark. They inspired many people to take up sports, study martial arts, and most importantly, search for their own freedom even in restrictive circumstances. Bruce Lee never set foot in the Soviet Union, yet he taught an entire generation how to dream, to fight, and to win. That is what makes him a true hero, one whose spirit crossed the Iron Curtain and remained in people's hearts forever.